My name's John Edge and I live here at Cwmgyfeiliw, which is Cwm for short. It's a wonderful Welsh word, Cwmgyfeiliw, and it's a lovely old 18th century farmhouse and farm in West Wales. And Cwm has been the focus for me for the last 12 years on a project to build natural gardens here, focusing on using nature's laws. Central to the idea, you might say, of natural gardens is that they should be a place of well-being, indeed even a place of healing. Now, what do I mean by that, and how can you bring that into play in the design of a garden? Well, let's look at the four elements, which we know as air, water, earth and fire. They're what the ancients would call them. But in fact, modern science knows that you need indeed water, air, earth and fire, or energy, for anything to live, for all plants to live in one form or another. And in the human systems too, we have those kinds of systems, those four systems, because we have our waterworks, don't we? We have the stomach, which is taking the earth, the food. We have the lungs, which is to do with the air, and we have our head, which is the center of our brain, or the energy systems, the electronic energy systems of our thinking and control systems. So we have those four too. Now, on the planet, you also have those four systems, don't you? You have places of water, places of air, places of earth, and places of fire. But they're not necessarily in balance. In a desert, they're not in balance. In a tropical rainforest, they're not in balance. And it's very clear that humans will have a better sense of well-being if those elements are in a better balance at the place they're in. Where are the spaces that fit better with those four elements? How can I then redesign those spaces to accentuate or de-accentuate those elements? So as you go around those four, you have a much better sense of balance between them all. That's what is behind the design of natural gardens here. And so when you move into the earth section, you feel the coolness and the shade and the earthy banks around you and the trees above you. But when you walk out into the air space, the air garden, the sky opens up and you have a long view down the valley and wide views of the skies. And when you go into the water garden, well, it's slightly more enclosed, and there you have a large pond which is surrounded by other trees and shrubs and fences, so it's slightly enclosed. And you have all the water features. And then when you go into the fire garden, it's an open bank which gets a lot of sun in the morning and afternoon, and perhaps the last sun of the day there. So the sun is emphasized. If you just simply wander through the gardens, you'll be going from one space to another which has a particular different nature to it, and that in itself would, we hope, help to rebalance your own systems by linking you and connecting you in turn to those elements outside in the nature and inside in yourself. While this is not, you might say, scientific, because how can you really be scientific in something that is to do with a human feeling and human sensitivity in that way? But people do report on how much they enjoy being here and the great sense of peace and quiet it brings. And strangely enough, if I was going to say what has surprised me most, it is actually those guys that drive down in their mail order delivery trucks, come storming down my drive, jump out to give me a package, and are stopped in their tracks and suddenly say, "This is an extraordinary place, isn't it lovely, peaceful here?" And it's the last thing you'd expect them to say, and look a bit stunned, then get into their truck and drive away.